Welcome everyone. My name is Svarnyk, and we are today in session 4 of our Lunchtime meditation series. So as usual, we'll start with a short meditation, then we'll do a little bit of a follow-up on what's been happening so far, and then I will introduce today's meditation techniques, attention techniques, and then we'll talk a little bit about homework and what's going to happen next week. Next week will be our last session in this series. And that will conclude our first half hour of the session. So if you have to go at that point, please feel free to leave. And then we'll have a second meditation for about 15 minutes for those of you who can stay. So we can get started. Please sit comfortably. If you have any devices, you can mute them. Just find a good position, good place to start. Now we can place both our hands open on our lap. If you want, you can close your eyes. Otherwise, you are welcome to look at the slide that we have here for you. And let's start by bringing all of our attention inside. And let's feel out what it is that we are feeling today. What are things that are coming into our attention? How are we feeling emotionally? Is anything disturbing us today? Now let's place both of our hands towards the ground. If you're sitting on the floor, you can place them on the ground. And we can ask the earth element to please absorb all of our imbalances as much as possible. Inner energy, please remove all of our imbalances from our system. Please let them be absorbed and neutralized by the earth element. All right, we can place our hands back on our lap. Now we will place our right hand on our heart. Please open the lap. here we can say, I am not my ego. I am not my conditionings. I am the pure spirit. I am not my ego. I am not my conditionings. I am the pure spirit. All right, we can place our right hand on the left side of our neck and slightly turn our head to the right. And here we will say with full confidence, I am not guilty of anything at all. I need to set aside any possible feelings of guilt that we might be carrying. I am not guilty of anything at all. Okay, very good. Now we will place our right hand across our forehead. And here we can let go of any grudges, any ill feelings we might be carrying. Anything bad that happened to us in the past, can just let it be in the past. We want to be in the present. So here we will say silently within, I forgive everyone, and I also forgive myself. I forgive everyone, and I also forgive myself. Now we will place our right hand on top of our head, apply a bit of pressure, and we will massage our scalp in a clockwise direction, circular motion. So move our scalp in a clockwise direction. And here we will ask, inner energy, please establish my self-realization. And please bring me into the state of meditation. Right? We can slowly place our hand back on our lap. Let's see whether we can keep our attention on top of our head and whether we can stay without thinking. All right, we can slowly open our eyes. Now, it's been quite a journey. Today is our session number 4. So what we have been doing this whole series, we had some ground rules, and the ground rules were such that we all will do our daily morning and evening meditation. If those times are not working out, then we said, okay, we find some other 2 times a day to do meditation. And at least once a day, we will do a food soaking technique. So we will combine our meditation with the food soak. And then the third rule was that for the duration of this series, we are only doing the Sahaja meditation techniques. We are not doing any other meditation techniques or energy techniques or healing or spiritual techniques or anything like that. So those were our rules. And then what we did is we went through a series of techniques that we tried out. And the purpose of these was to see how we can maintain our state throughout the day, how we can reconnect through the day, how we can have our attention in such a way that our attention is on our energy, and that allows us to stay in a semi-meditative state as much as possible, not only in the morning and the evening when we sit down to meditate, but during our day as we go to work, as we do the things that we have to do. So this series was a series of, taking that break in the middle of the day at lunchtime for those of you who are in the US Eastern Time, and resettle our attention, and then learn simple techniques of how to do this on a daily basis, how to improve our attention and how to bring our attention back inside and keep our attention on our own self and on our connection with the universal energy. So there is a number of techniques we tried, we practiced them week by week. And if you're joining us today for the first time, you're welcome to look at the recordings. So on our website in the library section, the recordings of all the previous sessions that we have done in this series are up. So you're welcome to revisit those. Now, today, so today is in some ways a culmination of our series, because today we want to talk a little bit about how not to be affected by negative energy that we encounter. So 2 weeks ago, we learned how to distinguish what energy do things or situations or places around us carry. When we put our attention on things, places, people, situations, without thinking, so in semi-meditative state, we are able to feel the energy of those things. And so at that time, what we said is, if the energy is good, and we feel the energy is good, if we feel cool flow of energy on our hands when we put attention on something, then we can just enjoy and watch those things or places or even ideas have energy. So watch them without thinking and just enjoy the silence and the joy that they give us, because they have such positive energy. And those things that have negative energy, our homework was, as much as possible, remove attention from them, bring attention back inside. If we do not put our attention on them, we do not absorb this negative attention from them. Now, this is a bit of a different level today. So today we will talk about what can we do with those places, situations, people which are negative, and we have to deal with them. We have to somehow be involved with them. How can we be dealing with them without being affected by the negative energy? How can we bring about some positive change to the situation? So, well, the main thing is such that we are only affected negatively by something if we project some sort of negativity towards the thing. If we manage to remain completely pure without any negative intent whatsoever, without any negative reaction, then no negative situation can actually affect us in a negative way. Now, this might be easier said than done. So what are these things that we need to watch out for? First of all, our ego and our conditionings, or call it superego. Now, our ego is the result of our right channel. So our ego is right here, this yellow balloon at the end of the right channel. And it collects all of our ideas about ourselves. Generally, sort of the ideas of a superior nature. Anything that makes us feel that we are great, that we are something better than other people. And then our superego, or our conditionings, is this blue balloon here. And it collects in some way, we could say, the traditional views or traditional beliefs. Anything that has to do with our culture, our religion, our family beliefs, and things like that. And so often when we encounter the situation, we will react to the situation either through our ego or through our conditionings, through our superego. And we will make a judgment about the situation. So if something is, if we enter a situation, we encounter a person, for example, we make a judgment about the person. And often that will be either based on our ego, on what we believe ourselves to be and what we believe is due to us and what we believe we deserve, or it is based on our conditionings, what we were taught as children, not necessarily our own beliefs, but something that we have internalized through our culture, through our upbringing, through our society, through the tradition. Now, the tricky thing is that a lot of the times, those are not true. So a lot of the times, our own ego is the result of things like greed and lust and jealousy, and our conditionings also might be the result of some sort of collective misguided ideas. So, oh, this is when we encounter something and we immediately feel, oh, this is wrong, or this is stupid, this is ugly, right? Those are often just the result of our upbringing, and they might have nothing to do with reality whatsoever. So what we were trying to do so far in this series is to watch our attention and watch what happens when we encounter things. Now, today's homework will be like this. When we encounter things, we watch our reaction. What is our response to these things? When we encounter a person, especially a person that we believe to be a difficult person, what is it that we feel? What is it that we think when we encounter that person? Do we immediately make a judgment? When we see a person that we think is a difficult person, especially at work or even in our family, especially extended family, do we immediately feel like, oh my God, I have to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this person. This is going to be, again, the same as always, and it will end up in a big mess. If this is what we are thinking, then we are not approaching this situation based on truth, based on reality. We are approaching the situation based on what happened in the past, and the past does not exist. So sometimes what will happen is that our assessment of the situation might even be correct. Something might be wrong, something might be evil, something might not be done in the best possible way, and yet, no matter what we do at this point, it is not going to make the situation any better. It might not be the right time to say anything or to do anything to fix this situation. So something that we might want to try and practice by watching our reactions and stopping our reactions. And instead of reacting mentally based on our ego or based on our conditionings, we want to watch the situation without any reaction, watch the situation without thinking, and see what happens in the present moment. So withhold any possible judgment of the situation. Just treat every situation as completely new situation. And then we call this a witness state. A witness state is a state of the spirit. And the spirit is that deepest sense of self that we have, and that is the self that has no lust and no greed, that doesn't have any hurt, doesn't have any jealousy, doesn't have any false beliefs. It just is that part of ourselves that is completely pure and is able to just watch and enjoy whatever is happening. And that is the part of us who knows the right timing of things, who feels whether this is something that we can do right now, or this is something that if we do this, it will not bring any positive result. Our spirit ultimately is this pure benevolence. So it's only guided by what is good in the long run. And something might not feel like a good thing this moment, right? Something might feel like a terrible situation at this moment. And yet, in the long run, somehow it might work out as it is supposed to work out. So the big part of us being able to connect to our spirit and to identify as our spirit as opposed to our ego or our conditionings is to be able to surrender, we call it, especially in the Eastern traditions, to be able to allow the flow of things to happen as they are meant to happen as they're supposed to happen. And now the largest the most important trick in all of this is to know what is our role, to know when we need to act, and to know when we need to withhold any action on our part and just watch and just not do anything. And that is something that comes with practice and comes with the practice of meditation. So, next steps and homework. This was a lot of talking so far, and let's see how this. You don't need to remember anything. As usual, I will send you an email with a bit of a summary with what we need to do. So what we need to do this week is we continue with our ground rules, and that is twice a day we have meditation. We can meditate on our own, or we can use any of the recordings of the previous sessions of these sessions or other instructor sessions, any sessions in our library. And then once a day, we add a food soaking technique, at least once a day. If you want, you can try add food soaking technique twice a day. It's up to you, just to see how it feels and what it is that you need at the moment. And we do not do any other meditation techniques except Sahaja meditation. So we continue with these, our ground rules. Now, all the techniques we've learned so far, you will see that it's a little bit of a build-up, right? The first techniques were the basis for the next techniques. So you can keep practicing whatever it is that you feel you want to keep practicing, whatever has been working for you so far. But the main practice for this week is watch yourself and see what it is that you are projecting outside. Are you projecting your ego? Are you trying to put somebody down? Are you judging somebody based on what you believe yourself to be and how you believe to be superior to others or inferior to others? Are you projecting your conditionings? Are you projecting whatever it is that you feel will happen based on what happened in the past, especially if the past was not so great? So watch that. And then try to refrain from any action or any judgment that comes from either your ego or your conditionings and does not come from your spirit. Now, how to do that? When you are in balance, when you're in the present moment, when you are thoughtless, then you are most the spirit, right? You can be the most of what you are, the purest that you are. If you do not have any negative expectations or you don't project any negative feelings, this is when you are allowing your spirit to actually act, because the spirit is that most benevolent and most pure and most enjoying part of ourself. So refrain from acting when you are not in balance, when you are not thoughtless, when you are not calm, when you're not peaceful and satisfied. And something what you can also do, we did a little bit of this in the previous weeks, is whenever you are in a situation where you're not sure whether you're balanced or whether you should do something or not do something, whether this will be, whatever you're thinking you need to do will be benevolent or not, you can always bring your attention to the top of your head, like we have been doing so far. Put your attention on your energy and ask your energy. Ask inner energy or mother energy, is this the right thing to do for me? Is this something I should be doing? Is this something that will be benevolent, that will benefit the situation? And see what you feel. If you feel cool flow, especially if it increases the cool flow, then that's a go. If you feel hot and tingly, then not a very good idea. Now, of course, the only sort of reason to ask this is if you're willing to actually do or follow up on whatever it is that you're feeling. If you feel that you have no choice and you have to do what you have to do, then there is no point asking. But if you do have a bit of a leeway, whether to do something now or do it later, you might find out that later you will find a much better solution than what you saw now. Or the situation itself will change, and then you will actually not have to do something that you thought you had to do in a way that you thought was going to happen. So this is the homework for today. See what you're projecting. Catch yourself when you're not projecting something that is completely benevolent. A lot of the times, especially as we go deeper in our meditation, our ego becomes more subtle. And then the ego turns into this a little bit of a moralizing agent, pretending to be the one who's benevolent, pretending to be the one who's good. So it takes a little bit of a sense of humor to actually see yourself and notice when you are still trying to impose yourself on others, even when you think that this is you're doing it out of their best interest and with full benevolence and things like that. So watch yourself, and then see who is it that's acting. Is it your ego? Is it your conditionings? Or is it really the spirit? The spirit is not pretentious. The spirit is not rude. The spirit is not harmful. The spirit is the one who's completely peaceful, who's enjoying, and who's not attached to any outcome, who is actually willing to accept whatever outcome of the situation that comes about, and is able to enjoy any outcome. And see whether you can practice. If you have been doing the homework that we've been doing so far, you should be feeling the flow of energy on your hands actually quite clearly by now. So you can always ask. If you are in a situation you're not sure what is the right thing to do, you ask your energy whether this is the right thing to do. Whether you should do this, or you should do nothing, or you should wait, or you should do something else, look for some other solution, and see which one of those has the coolest, nicest flow of energy. All right, so now we are half an hour into our session, so if you have to leave please feel free to leave. We still have 15 minutes of a meditation afterwards, but for those of you who only had half an hour, we will let you go. Now, next week is our last session of this particular series. So I will set aside time for answering your questions, but I would ask you to email me the questions ahead of time. So if you had any questions that you didn't have a chance to ask yet throughout this whole series, or in general, anything that came up, please email them to me, and I will set aside time next week to answer. And other than that, we'll have a sort of a summary session, and we'll try to have a bit of more of a meditation next week. And now we are ready for our second meditation. So again, let's sit comfortably. Let's regroup our attention. Bring our attention to the top of our head. Place both our hands open on our lap. You can either close your eyes, or if you want, you can look at the slide that we have. Now let's bring all of our attention to the top of our head. If you find it difficult, you can use your hand. Take your right hand, place it on top of your head, settle your attention. And once your attention is settled on top of your head, you can slowly place your hand back on your lap. But keep attention on top of your head. For those of you who've been doing this series and have been doing the homework, see whether you can feel the flow of energy on top of your head without even putting your hand there. See whether you feel this cool flow of energy on top of your head. If you feel it, it becomes very easy to keep your attention on that flow. Our attention is automatically then on top of our head. It's very easy to become thoughtless. Now let's see whether we can keep our attention on top of our head. And if any thoughts come in, you can just let them go. You can say, I'm not the ego, I'm not the superego. I am the pure spirit. Now I'll play a little bit of music, and so let's see whether we can just enjoy this state. All right. Now we can take our right hand, place it above our head. Let's see whether we feel the flow of energy from the top of our head. If you have just joined recently, you might not feel it yet. But if you've been meditating regularly and doing foot soak, you should actually start feeling it quite clearly. You might feel it as cool breeze. It might still be warm or even hot. All right, you can place our right hand back. Try the same with the left hand. You might feel different sensations with your right and left. It usually indicates the state of our right and left channel. All right. I'll place both of our hands open in front of us. Let's see whether we feel the flow of energy in our palms, in our fingertips. All right. Now let's bring all of our attention inside. Let's see how we are feeling inside compared to how we felt at the beginning of this session. Is our attention settled? Is it in the present? Are we feeling peaceful and quiet? Are we feeling satisfied and joyful? All right, now we can slowly open our eyes, and our session has come to an end. I will launch a quick poll just to see how the session worked for you. You're welcome to fill it out, respond to it. And other than that, thank you for joining me today. We will see you next week for our concluding session of this series. If you have any questions, which are misspelled on the screen, I've just noticed after 4 weeks, you're welcome to email me anytime. And we will see you next time. Thank you.